Pokémon, the series of games that I can't stop talking about apparently. It's been 3 years since declaring my retirement from Pokémon content, and for some reason I'm still talking about it. But it's fine, because today we're actually going back to the realm of mobile games. Now previously we had a look at all the Nintendo mobile games, and since then, well, no new mobile games have been added. I still keep making generously large donations to Intelligent Systems, and I single-handedly caused the death of Dr. Mario World and Dragalia Lost. But none of that matters today, because it's Pokemon's time to shine as we look at all their mobile games, which there's quite a few of them. The Pokemon Company has been in the mobile gaming market for about a similar amount of time as Nintendo, but it has definitely put out much more and also differentiated in the kind of applications they would put out. But let's go over all the Pokemon mobile games, some of the past that are no longer available and those that are still around, including just some that were recently added, and see how they hold up, what they offered to the user, and if this was a good investment for the Pokemon Company. Only things of note is that we won't be talking about the original Pokemon TCG online app from 2011 because, well, there's a new one now. And we won't tackle Pokemon Smile, the teeth-brushing app, because what's the point of smiling at this point? I mean, Lysithea just dropped all her cookies on the floor. What's the fucking point anymore? Pokemon Shuffle, an early Pokemon puzzle game that actually had its start back on the Nintendo 3DS. And dare I say, it was a much better experience on the 3DS, but eventually it was translated over to the mobile devices, which makes sense. Now, at first glance, this has a similar vibe to the Pokemon Troze series on the DS and the 3DS, and the basic concept is there, but Shuffle shook things in its own way. The way this game worked is that you would go up against a Pokemon with special conditions that must be met, either the number of turns needed to defeat the Pokemon, or even a time limit in some cases. You get to choose a max of 4 Pokemon to enter the puzzle round, and you go on to make as many matches through the rounds as you can to cause more damage to the opponent. And for all you Mega Evolution fans who have been starving for years, this game has Mega Evolution, which when activated provides the Pokemon with a special ability that helps them get rid of more Pokemon tiles in different manners. Some will take a large chunk, some will go all the way across the map. There's quite a variety of these. Overall, my experience with this game was stellar. Though I did solely play this on the 3DS, this game offered so much with weekly Pokemon and challenges, difficult levels, and a ton of Pokemon to add to the team, which you can obtain at the end of a round, with the catch rate dependent on how efficiently you were able to defeat the Pokemon. Now, the one thing I will say about this game, which is also on par with pretty much all the other Pokemon mobile games, is the fact that there were microtransactions. That's right, you could pay money to get some stuff. In this case, it would be able to regenerate the hearts that you would need to be able to play some rounds, or there were even some boosts that you can have in match that would give you more experience or give you some extra moves. Now, the good thing about it is it wasn't too badly noticeable. Like, there were times where I really wanted to keep playing to where it kind of is tempting to pay a couple dollars just to, you know, get some more hearts in, but at the same time, you could easily play this game without having to spend $1. And I'll be honest, there were a couple times where I had to use a couple eShop cards just to be able to beat a certain boss in the game. You little Pokémon Duel, how I miss this game. Pokémon Duel was very much my all-time favorite Pokémon mobile game. A strategy board game where 2 players bring in 6 of these Pokémon figurines in an attempt to reach the opposing goal. When it's the player's turn, they may move their Pokémon a certain number of allowed spaces, and along the way, they may have to clash against opposing Pokémon. The Pokémon battles were set up so that both players would spin a wheel with the figurines' moves, and whatever the needle landed on, and whichever player had the higher advantage and priority move was what would happen during that turn. It could be damage done to an opponent, or some sort of status effect, or you could literally just miss. This was a tactical game that I absolutely loved. I unfortunately had the world's shittiest phone around the time this game was out, so it would lag a lot while I was playing, but it was so cool being able to build up a cool team and fight against other players with these figurines. And unfortunately, this is yet another example of the sad reality that many, if not all of these service mobile games will have to face eventually. All that time and enjoyment is just thrown away because the company doesn't want to support it anymore. But regardless, this game will always be in my heart as a personal favorite. Pokémon GO. If you don't know what Pokémon GO is, first of all, congratulations on avoiding knowing about everything cruel that has happened to this planet in the past few years. Must be nice. And second, it is Pokémon's most popular mobile game on the list that has the real world combined together with the Pokémon world as you go out and catch Pokémon literally wherever you go. Out shopping at a store, there is very likely a ton of Pokémon nearby to catch. The method of catching Pokémon in this game is honestly pretty nice. You have to use the screen to throw a Pokéball, and you could either throw the Pokéball straight ahead, or you can be cool and do a curved throw, or I don't know, come up with your own kind of throw. From there, you can look at all the Pokemon you've caught, see their stats and their moves, and then be on the lookout for even more, as every time you catch a Pokemon or send them to the professor, you get candy for that Pokemon, which could be used to boost that Pokemon or evolve the Pokemon if it has an evolution. And as indicated, you can participate in Pokemon battles with other players at the gyms. I think you can also battle locally, and also there's currently a Team Rocket balloon event that leads you to getting a chance of catching a Pokemon. In order to battle, all you need are some Pokemon and a working finger that can aggressively tap the phone screen and follow the pattern to be able to use one of your Pokemon's attacks. And aside from that, there's a lot of different side missions that you can do to be able to get special rewards, and of course you can customize your trainer in whatever fashion you'd like, which there's actually some decent fashion choices. Now, the history I have with Pokemon Go is a bit hit or miss, but either way, Pokemon Go is a fun game that I have started picking up a bit more recently. Haven't really pushed for battles because my team is shit, but at least I found, nothing serious, just a shiny Pokemon, which means you have to subscribe to the channel, which I'd just appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel. Magikarp Jump. This is a game I genuinely knew nothing about for years. I think when it was first announced, I heard the song that was released along with it and was like, this is depressing, and now I don't want to play the game. But now 6 years later, and now an expert in the arts of sadness, I have finally tried it out, and it's actually quite an intriguing game. There's this excitement over seeing whose Magikarp is able to jump the highest. First step, finding a Magikarp. You select from 3 old rods and fish out a Magikarp that hopefully takes you far in your journey. You can train your Magikarp in various ways to make it stronger and stronger the further you go. It can gain experience from eating food, training with other Pokemon that visit, completing the training sessions, confronting creepy ghost people. It all comes in handy to prepare for the big league matches. Unfortunately, you reach a point where your Magikarp is just not good enough. It reaches its max experience, which means that you have to take the Sunset Walk of Shame to your local restaurant where it will be cut up and sauteed for human consumption. But then it'll be a new day where you can choose another old rod to catch a new Magikarp. But this time, we're gonna be serious and do some more intense training, like jumping for berries and Pokémon Quest. This game was revealed as a surprise announcement coming to the Nintendo Switch and then mobile devices later on. It's a game that is visually colorful with all the Pokemon and overworld having this blocky design to it. The premise of this game is that you arrive in an island where you then set up camp and go around to explore the different zones on the island. Now, the exploration is automatically done by the Pokemon themselves as they navigate through the map on their own, and all we have to do is support them by deciding when they should use their attacks, which have a short downtime after using them. And after clearing the area or fighting the boss Pokemon, you head to the camp where you can then use the ingredients that you obtained on your expedition to cook up a new dish that'll attract some new Pokemon to help bolster the strength of your team. It does take some wait time before you can actually finish cooking and call in some new Pokemon, but it's not that bad. And somehow they managed to add microtransactions with purchasable packs and decorations providing boosts, but it barely affects the game. Overall, this was still a decently fun, simple, and slow-paced game. Will I play this game again? Probably not, but this game I think was good enough that it deserves a Johto sequel for sure. Pokémon Rumble Rush, a game where you rack up a team of toy Pokémon partners and travel around battling wild Pokémon, confronting bosses, and discovering valuable items. And the fact that this game was released in mid-2019 and then died just a year after tells you everything you need to know about this game. The Pokémon Rumble series started off incredibly strong, and I would argue even going up to Pokémon Rumble World with all its microtransactions, it was still somewhat decent. But this mobile game definitely put the final nail in the series' coffin. It was an absolutely mediocre and boring game. Everything is the same as all the previous entries mechanics-wise, with everything else being absolutely basic. You could literally play any other Rumble title, which that itself is not a thought that comes to my mind often. Pokémon Masters. This was a game when I first saw it was announced, it made me absolutely excited to see what was in store. I mean, it brought back all the major trainers from all the Pokemon games altogether. And though I haven't played the game as much as I originally anticipated, I have to admit this is probably a top tier Pokemon mobile game, even outside the nostalgia factor of the characters. For starters, Pokémon Masters has battle mechanics in the format of triple battles, which somehow a phone is more capable at handling 6 active Pokemon, but not the 3DS or the Switch. Switch. And the battles are still familiar in concept to the battles in the main series, with each Pokemon holding a typing. But what's cool here is that it is time-based, where these energies must get filled up for you to be able to choose one of the attacks to use against your opponent. There are also some moves that offer more static effects to the battle, but rather than depend on the energy bar, you only get a certain number of times you're allowed to use them in a match. Then, after many turns, you can choose a Pokemon to use a sync move, which will cause critical damage to the opponent. And at the end of everything, okay, that's too far ahead of time, the last team standing wins the match. Now in this game, there is a ton of content you could go through, with a very large amount of stories giving lore to so many events and characters from the series, which is so insane. There is a whole section right now for villainous groups, legendaries, a whole becoming the best like no one ever fucking was arc. And you know what the best part is? It's voice acted! This game literally has all sorts of incredible voice actors playing characters, with some of them fitting their roles perfectly, and also makes me wonder when Pokemon is actually gonna do this for the main series. It needs it so badly at this point. I mean, what did you expect me to do in this scene? Sing the song myself? No thanks, retired when I was 10. But of course, with every game I enjoyed, they just had to add microtransactions in the form of jewels so that I could unlock the characters. But I don't know if it's because I didn't play this game religiously each day, but they often gave me a good amount of jewels that pretty much got me all the characters I could have asked for. Don't think I've ever spent anything above $10 on this entire game, which, when compared to my time with Fire Emblem Heroes in the past, is a drastic change. Remember Pokémon Shuffle, the puzzle game about matching Pokemon to defeat the opponent? Well, it had been 5 years of the same exact puzzles and challenges, so they decided to shake things up with a new puzzle game being Pokémon Café Mix, which then they renamed to Café Remix literally a year later. Apparently, we're the new owner of a Pokémon Café, which probably explains why I have no f***ing money all of a sudden. But basically, we fulfill orders for Pokemon that stop by our cafe, and in order to do that, we have to play a puzzle game to receive and mix the ingredients together to make the perfect dish. The puzzle game itself works by using the device's touchscreen to select one Pokemon, and once you selected the Pokemon you want, you drag it around and connect it with the other Pokemon of the same kind. If you selected Piplup, you drag it around to create chains of Piplup all over the screen. However, the goal isn't to get rid of all the Pokemon on the screen or defeat an opponent. You want to try and get all the ingredients that are mixed in with the Pokemon so you can make the dish, and in order to do that, you have to make matches next to those ingredients. Sometimes it's that simple, and other times there are obstacles that are in the way that may make it harder to complete. But they also threw in some elements and abilities that would help clear out more icons and ingredients when needed. Overall, as a puzzle game, I'm not gonna lie, I still prefer Shuffle over this. It is a pretty creative matching game that goes perfectly with the cafe theme, and I really love the art style chosen for the scenes and the Pokemon. Very adorable, and there is now a Victini one, so I have to give Victini points where possible. But there is just something about Shuffle that I just kind of preferred a bit more. Maybe it was the intensity it would bring, or the other mechanics that were involved, and maybe I just need to give Café Remix a bit more time, which I just might do. But definitely not on the Switch. If I had one genuine gripe with this game, it would be the fact that this game is on the Switch. It's not fit for the Switch. The Switch's touchscreen is so bad because the screen's purpose is almost never to use it as a touchscreen. This should have been a mobile-only game. Adding it to the Switch is like making a new Rangers game for the Switch, but you still have to use the touchscreen to catch the Pokemon. Like, what? Pokémon Unite. Now, I won't really talk about this because I have an entire video about Pokémon Unite that you could watch, but I will say that it does continue to have some decent content to keep it going with new Pokémon editions and costumes. So overall, it's a game that still gets played by many people today. The genre itself is not my cup of tea, which I predicted way back as well, but I could see why many people still enjoy it, and to be able to play it on mobile now as well as on the Switch, that's pretty awesome. Next, we have the latest addition to the Pokemon mobile games being Pokémon Sleep. This is a mobile application that was announced ages ago. Since then, it had not been discussed about at all, along with the Detective Pikachu game for the Switch, until this year when they just randomly remembered the promises they made that day. And now Pokémon Sleep is here, and what are my thoughts on the game? Where do I even start? I'm not gonna lie, I have quite a few gripes with this game. For starters, the game requires you to have your phone screen on as I sleep. But why is that the setup? I'm aware I can flip the phone downward while the screen is on because it'll just turn the screen black, but why couldn't I just sleep my phone and have the application work in the background rather than dimming down the phone but still having it active through the night? It just wastes a lot of battery for the next morning, which leads me to my second issue I have. They recommend keeping the phone charged next to you while running the application. What? Isn't this literally the thing every single person tells you not to do? It's like Pokemon Sleep promotes sleep so much that they will push you into an eternal sleep with the help of Fire Hazard. It's just such an inconvenient setup for something I personally don't need. And if you want it to be a little more convenient, then look no further than the Pokemon GO Plus Plus, which just saying that makes me want to stab someone. Plus, why would I spend $50 on a device that I will barely use and that is nowhere near the caliber of the mighty Pokewalker Plus Plus? It's $50! You want me to buy this thing rather than, oh, I don't know, the Pyra and Mithra amiibo set, a bucket of Reese's peanut butter cups, or just purchase a $50 eShop card to download some wonderful titles on the Recents tab. But in genuine seriousness, this application is definitely a fun and motivating way to get your sleep schedule going, at least. I mean, you know how Pokemon fans are, staying up all night trying to find that different colored bird, but now you can do the same thing in your sleep. But aside from the fun part of learning your sleep statistics and rhythms, you could just study all the Pokemon that stop by in your game with their different sleep positions, which is really unique, creative, and a motivating addition to this. And of course, after a good night's sleep, you have to eat something, because if you don't eat, well, yeah. So you could go around feeding Pokemon, to which if you max out the bars for friendship, they will join your camp. As for Snorlax, it can eat a lot of berries that your Pokemon will give to you. Or you could use some of the collected ingredients to make an entire meal for it. And then the cycle continues as you have another night's rest with even more Pokemon stopping by, until the final night in the game where you go to sleep and... Finally, we end off with one final review being the new Pokemon TCG live application. Now, why did I review this game after talking about Pokemon Sleep when it came out before it? Who knows? Is it because it flows better in the script? Did I forget at the last minute to review this game? Or is it because they are sponsoring this video and encouraging all users to use the code MegaMasterXY for some free packs in game? Leave a comment down below as to which one you think it is. But the Pokemon TCG is something that has unsurprisingly grown since the days of McDonald's cards and actually seeing them at Target. But for ages, we have wanted to play the online TCG game with our mobile devices because it was available for tablets, but never on a phone, until recently when they finally revamped the whole online game and added mobile compatibility. Now, in real question, I don't really know why they didn't add this to the Switch as well, and yet somehow the Café remix game makes sense on the Switch. But whatever, this application is, well, great. It's exactly everything I wanted for the TCG Online mobile app, to be able to have matches on the go, unlocking and obtaining rewards and packs, customizations, and what more could I ask for? Well, I would ask to be good at the game because it's been ages since the last time I tried out the card game and I forgot all the rules. So like, when do I throw in the reverse Uno card? So overall, how do Pokemon and their mobile games hold up? Well, honestly, it's pretty decent. They have definitely put out a ton of really interesting and unique mobile applications, while also putting out some that just make perfect sense as a mobile game. In terms of microtransactions, though they tend to try and find a way to add it to every game, I haven't had a bad experience because of the presence of them, even though, you know, I'm kind of used to it by now. But aside from Pokemon Go, I never felt the pressure to have to spend any money on any of these games. It's tempting to pay a couple dollars just to, you know, get some more hearts in. They were still very much playable and enjoyable. With Pokemon Go, however, they definitely make life harder with catching Pokemon and collecting items, to where if you don't at least put down some money to expand the storage of Pokemon and or bag space, you might have to make some in-game sacrifices. Regardless, in a similar fashion to the Nintendo mobile games, these are all fun to play games when the moment is right for them. If I'm on my phone and there's literally some spare time because I'm in line or waiting for someone, I might as well check around to see if there's any Pokestops or take a quick battle or go through a quick puzzle. It is sad, however, seeing how some of the games have gone away and will continue to fade away, with Pokemon Shuffle likely to be the next mobile game to get cut off, which would make me pretty sad. But with the mobile games we have still today, they definitely surprised me with how much I actually liked them. Literally had no care for Magikarp Jump on its release, but now I kind of enjoy it. As for any future Pokemon mobile games, unlike Nintendo, who probably aren't going to push for anything new, I'm ignoring Pikmin, Pokemon are very likely to put out a new mobile game. My worst nightmare, yet a very likely outcome, would be a mobile mystery dungeon title. A game style that would easily work for mobile, but come on, I just want a new one for the Switch. But there's no point in stopping their mobile gaming progress because they remain quite active in it and they do make a lot of money out of it. But in the end, no matter what mobile games come out from Pokemon and how much I absolutely love Pokemon, the honest truth is that there will never be any satisfaction compared to the one I get when I'm playing Fire Emblem Heroes, which, you know what that means. Time to spend some orbs and see what we get. Oh, It's you again. Oh. I was hoping for, you know, just end the fucking video.